All right, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle Figley here on CBR.com from Comic-Con 2018 in San Diego, California. Get right in there. I'm here with Mr. Tom King, the big winner from the Eisners last night, man. Congratulations.
There were a lot of big winners from the Eisner last night.
No.
I won something, yeah, fine. But when Mitch Garrett's my artist on Mr. Miracle won, that was the big moment for me when he went up. I had tears in my eyes. Yeah. I just couldn't. Yeah.
Over the years, I think people come to these shows. We watch. Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo were like, "We're gonna go skydiving together. It's so great," or whatever, you know. But you've worked with Mitch for a while now, between Sheriff and now Mr. Miracle. I mean, is that bond, that personal bond, what keeps driving the book?
I mean, it's part of the book now, and I think it makes it better. But to me, it's the opposite. It's like the book drove the bond. It's kind of like it's something great that came from the book. It's not something great that made the book. Yeah. I don't know. That's a silly distinction, but I think that's the way I look at it. Because I've done things that I consider I'm very proud of with artists that I'm not best friends with. Not that I just they live in Spain or they live in I did Omega Man. I loved Omega Man, but Barney McGann lives in Indonesia and has an agent. So we didn't talk at all. But I did feel we were on the same page. We had great chemistry. So I mean, it changed with their art. But yeah, one of the great parts of the last few years is sort of making new and lasting friendship with people like Clayman, with people like Mikhail Janin, and with Mitch Garrett. So. Yeah. Sorry to be stupid sentimental about
No, it's good. It's good. We know.
Everything I say is stupid sentimental these days. I think it's because I'm away from my family. I got like 6 hours between me and my kids. So I stopped talking about punching and I just start talking about love and friendship.
Well, let's talk about love and how it's broken and dead in the world of Batman.
Hey, that's my brand, buddy. Don't mock it.
This is what I do. Well, we had talked at C2E2 before the issue came out, and you were saying things like, one of the interesting things about Batman is, like, how can he be happy? Like, he's not a character that's made to be happy. And then issue 50 came out, and a bunch of people were like, wait, he's not going to be happy? And I was like, does nobody read my copy? Is that, are they just ignoring what I do for a living here? No. But I feel like it's weird because that's not an ending to a story. That's like an opening to a new miserable story that you're working on. And with the Bane reveal and all of that, it feels like you're in new territory for what you've done on the book, and you've done 50 issues of the book, Where do you see it going next? Like further and further down, or is there other weird pockets in time travel and stuff to come, even though his heart is broken?
I mean, fortunately or unfortunately, I sort of come from a world of novels, and I look at stories as they need some unifying themes and some unifying elements. And that goes for my 12-issue series, and that goes for Batman, which is a 100-issue series. At the end, I want it to read like one story. Yeah. I want it to be one exploration of Batman with one huge villain and one huge theme. And the huge villain, as revealed in issue 50, is Bane, and the huge theme is Batman, Catwoman, and their love, and exploring that. And when you explore a theme, you explore all aspects of it, and one of the aspects of love is loss. And so when you're halfway through a story, I mean, we're at that point in the story where the Nazis just took the Ark, and Indy's stuck with the snakes, or we're at that point in the story where Han just pulled the gun and Vader pulled it out of his hands, and he's being led out of the room, and that's painful. I mean, that jerks at your heart. Like the whole reason you came here is to be invested in this story, and because you're invested in it, you feel the pain of the characters. You are, hopefully if I did my job right, you're in the eyes of Batman. You're pulling on that cowl and you're seeing through his eyes. And Batman is in pain, and you as a reader are feeling that pain, and that's terrible. But that's part of the journey. That's part of exploring. Can he be happy? Is can you overcome pain? Because I don't know about you, but in my life, when I found happiness, or when I found joy, it wasn't like, oh, I found joy and now I get to hold on to it forever and everything's happy.
No, I'm good now. Rainbows.
No. Rainbows. No, it was like, I found joy and here's another obstacle. Can I find it again? Yeah. And that's what this series is about.
So I gotta say, I'm guessing that one of the hardest scenes that you're gonna have to write in the whole series is when Batman and Catwoman are on the page together again, right? Have you thought about what that scene has got to be?
Yes, and I've talked about it with Joelle Jones, who's writing the new Catwoman series, which is, I mean, this has been planned for so long, and so Joelle and I have been working to that moment, and that's part of how she's building her story, and part of how I'm building my story, in terms of building these characters back together. So when they meet together, I mean, that to me, that's going to be one of the marks of the entire run. Just like the moment they got engaged was a mark of the entire run, and the moment they were left on the rooftops is an entire run. And I like that is going to be a pinnacle, and hopefully a moment that that I write well and people talk about.
You know, I had Dan DiDio in here yesterday, and I know.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't.
How are you doing? No, but we were talking about.
Wait, can I talk about Dan DiDio for a second?
Yes.
So when I first broke into comics and got to DC, like, he had a horrible rep. Like, this was like, like, you know, he had quit Twitter and all that stuff. And I was like, I was looking at him like, oh, when will I meet the monster? You know, kind of. And behind the scenes, just so people know, like, actually meeting him and actually working with him now very closely for the past 3 years, he's not a monster. He's one of the great lovers of comics, and one of the people who's working as hard as possible, not only to save this medium and to make sure that it continues, but to help the creators that behind it, not just like this generation of creators, but the generation that came before him, like Len Wein, who sadly passed away last year.
Yeah.
It was Dan that was taking care of him in the end, and Dan who was making sure he got work, and Dan who was making sure he got invited to places. And he doesn't talk about any of that stuff, but he takes care of the old creators as well as he takes care of the young creators, and he hides that stuff. But Dan is sort of one of the great cheerleaders of this medium, and I think he has a bad rep for it, and I just want to give him a little shout out.
My God, when I said yes emphatically, I was sure the next thing was be like, he smells like cheese. Da da da. No, but
I'm not saying he doesn't smell like cheese. Obviously, no, that goes unsaid. Yeah, no, that's sort of an a priori Dan thing.
Yeah. But he was in here and he was talking about the release of Batman 50 and the New York Times story and all this stuff, and I was struck by how emphatic he was. He was like, we did everything right. I really think that, like, people are upset, but, like, that's part of what we need to do to draw attention and to the book and the medium and to stores and things like that. Do you think about all those external things once the book is done, or are you just like, I just got to nail the story and everything else is out of my hands?
I mean, I've got 3 kids, Charlie, Crosby, and Claire, and a lovely wife, and every Friday I've got a deadline, and I have to write. My focus always, number one, is to put the best story on the page. And if I spend half my time worrying about how the marketing's going, or worrying about what the covers are, what the media, my focus has to be on that story. Like, there's just not enough hours of the day.
Yeah.
Like I have so much energy, and I want all those energies to go into me looking at the right words and me putting the right things in the right place. And I can't spend time on the marketing and on that stuff. To me, it's about the story, and the rest of that has to be noise. And of course, that's not how it comes out. A reader is seeing all the noise, but I'm a stupid writer. Like, I just want to focus on writing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
no. That's a good attitude.
But I find I don't think at all. I was mad about the rollout about it. I mean, I think that's legitimate enough to say that. I wanted the story to stand on its own. I mean, I knew very much that it was a story that was gonna break hearts. I mean, I knew this. Like, I knew this was a moment that was gonna bring pain, but I wrote that issue in a way so that people saw it was not ha ha ha. These people can't be.
It was sadistic. Yeah,
it was a celebration of their love. We worked so hard to get the best creators in the history of Batman to draw dedications to their love and to show that this love had lasted for 80 years and was something eternal that couldn't be broken. I mean, that's if you read that issue, like this is a bond that can't be broken, and that here and the twist at the end is like, this is something that can be fixed. And it was written in that way to sort of give salve to the wound, but it didn't come out that way. Instead, it came out as a headline, and it came out as people reading about the issue instead of reading the issue. And as a storyteller, that makes you so upset, because that issue, people were like, I like this relationship, and I was like, that's what the issue is about. It's about how much I like the relationship. I was like, I'm on your side. I just wanted to tell them, like, as mad as you are, I am on your side. I agree with you. Like, I want them to be married. I want them to be together. I want them to be happy. But part of exploring that happiness is understanding that happiness isn't easy. That happiness is something that there are obstacles both in your control and out of your control that get in your way, and you have to deal with that. and you have to find a way to sort of push through it, and that's the story.
So speaking of happiness and its impossibility to get, Heroes in Crisis.
Someday I'll write something that's nice and
no, yeah, it won't be about PTSD. No, but like that is a title, obviously, as you know, that's going to evoke lots of things. And I think it's interesting how over the years that idea of a crisis, which has gone back decades and decades in DC, has gone from Crisis on Infinite Earths and Infinite Crisis, and then Identity Crisis and Final Crisis. The stories seem to be getting smaller and more personal and more weird as like.
Did you read Final Crisis? That's the biggest story of all time.
But like the kind of there's like a mundane quality to Darkseid's plan in that. You know, it's a big crazy story, but I do feel like it's not. I guess it is. The 3D Superman stuff at the end is a bunch of characters on the page, but I do feel like there's a tangible difference between that story and
the monitors and the Averys and oh man,
yeah. But I don't know. Maybe I'm full of shit. But but I do feel like you're doing one of these stories, and there is something that's going to be different about it because of the character focus. And do you think about like the creative legacy of that word as you're doing that book?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be as different. I think I'm gonna hopefully stand on the shoulders of those giants. You know, I don't want to write something that breaks with the tradition of what Wolfman Perez did, what Phil and Jeff did, and what Morrison did, and what Brad did. To me, what crisis means, what that word means, and I've talked to Marv about this, is it's a change in the entire DCU. It's something that has a huge impact on these characters and how you see the characters. And for some people, you get to that change through a world blowing up and worlds colliding and sort of people merging. And other people, you get to that change through just smaller stories and the perception. And this is one of those things where this is going to change how we as readers view the DCU and make it different than how anyone has viewed a superhero universe before. And it's going to hopefully change how the superheroes view themselves. Or at least that's my ambition.
Yeah. So obviously so much stuff about this book is under wraps, and we know certain parts. We know Wally's going to be a big part of it.
It's actually really funny. It's a funny book. It makes me laugh.
But you've been able to pull characters kind of off the shelf in the past. When you guys were doing Grayson, you guys got to pull in a bunch of stuff. Kite Man. Is there a piece of Heroes in Crisis, a character or something you said, okay, this is a piece that it's not the main story, but I want to pull this on the table. This is one of the DC boxes, that I want to check off.
I mean, there are like C-level characters that are kind of fun. I mean, like Booster Gold is. I mean, the stars of the series are the Trinity, obviously, and then the two other stars are Booster and Harley. And so, Booster to me doesn't seem like a character I'm pulling off the shelf because I feel like he's at the heart of the DC. I maybe have watched too much Justice League Action over and over with my kids, where he's just like he's the center of that show and he's amazing. But I am looking forward to it. But there are D and E level characters that we're going into. There's a big thing with Lagoon Boy, and
all right,
and Blue Jay. People you haven't heard from a while, and sort of finding the Kite Man in them all, finding what makes them unique and cool and essential to the DC universe. Yeah, so it's going to be all. This goes from E level to A level. Like this affects everyone.
All right. Well, hey, sir, thanks for stopping by. I hope you have a great rest of the show. Maybe you'll be less exhausted later. No, not really, but that's okay. Well, thanks to Tom.
Dude, I won an Eisner. I'm having a great show.
No, I'm bouncing off the walls. Yeah. We'll have more later on from Comic-Con 2018 on CBR.com.
Can I say one last thing? Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, you are.
I just want to thank you, obviously, from the beginning, but I'll also just say thank you to the readers. Like, this has been a hard time to be a Tom King fan. Honestly, like it's made me so emotional to see you guys stick with me and you guys defend me and you guys follow this story through this pain and to the action and through all of this. And I just can't express how much it means to me that you guys read my stuff and that you guys go on this journey with me. And I know that people come to CBR, man. You guys are the nerds, and I'm the nerd, and it just feels like we're all family, and I appreciate it.
Now I'm gonna cry. Okay, we'll see you later.